Well, rising family, much love to you all. Back again for another beautiful, wonderful, amazing, life-filled day. How y'all doing? Good? I hope so. Of course, being good and in a good space mentally, spiritually, emotionally is a lot easier said than done, especially for the most of us who may be caught up in the whole COVID madness and the whole money madness and the whole sickness madness and the whole distress of police madness, the whole being on lockdown and feeling claustrophobic madness, the whole world is turning upside down madness, all of the wonderful chaos that we are all experiencing that's got the vast majority of us in a very tight, uneasy space. As we understand things here, it has to do with not a lot of human elements, actually, because I understand that it's very easy for us to look at this thing from a very basic and very human, very government type of level. You know, it's real easy to point a finger at a Trump, very easy to point a finger at a bad police officer. It's very easy to point a finger at a looter, very easy to point a finger at some unsavory brown person that shouldn't have been circumventing the law. It's always very, very easy to put a human face or a human signature or a human example or focal point on all of the things that are happening around us. And understandably so. They do hold a certain level of power and appropriation in doing so, because it does work to hold human beings accountable for their actions. You know, we can't let people just run amok if we do want to have a progressive or whatever we call a society that is for the betterment of more people than it is for less people. So dealing with that basic human side of things, of course, we should acknowledge, we should focus, we should do our best to try to deal with, you know, whatever's going on. But this video here is actually a reminder for us all to remember that, again, a lot of this finger pointing, a lot of the justifiably putting our angst towards another person outside of ourselves, especially the ones who are supposed to be our leaders and or our caretakers. All of that stuff, again, is fine, but we have to remember consciousness. And this is what this reminder to self is for. And really, that's what reminder to self is always for, to remember consciousness. Because peep this, if we really gonna get into it, we'll get into the deep, deep, deep spiritual stuff for a second. I usually don't do that on this page, of course, but I'll tap into it for a moment. If we're gonna go in that direction, we have to fully understand the trick that is being played on us here. When we talk about all of this earthly, fleshly, human concern with what is going on with black men, with black America, with all of those wonderful things. And of course, by extension, with all humans. The trick here that we're really dealing with is actually taking all of our energy and our focus to actually reinforce the improvement of a human condition, to actually put all of our energies and our efforts towards another human being, and putting all of that spiritual awareness, that spiritual backdrop, all of that wonderful cosmic energy that actually is the invisible blueprint of this reality that we are living through, that is a offshoot of that blueprint. Instead of us being mindful and honoring and being in the space of the blueprint and putting our onus and our focus in understanding the blueprint, we put all of our focus on the person, all of our focus on the government institution, all of our focus on the big bad boogeyman or the big bad poor man. And we look at each other and begin to basically say that we are the ones who have this power, or we are the ones who are causing this great change, and or we are the ones who are causing, you know, this great problem. Of course, on the surface level, as we journey through the day-to-day logistics of life, yes, it is another human being that will have to go and, you know, actually mess something up, that will actually have to move something, will actually have to go improve something. However, the trick is, it wasn't that human, all of their own volition, that came into the mindset to want to do something. Hell, even with me making this video right now, it's not just a sole product of my ego and my human body wanting to contribute to the fray. I understand that even in my contribution of this video, and as well as the topic at large as we're discussing it here, is actually the submission and the revelation and the use thereof of consciousness. Meaning, we have a Donald Trump in office. You may or you may not like him, but he's in that position because consciousness put it there for him to be so. We are in the midst of a COVID-19. Yes, some conspiracy group may have conjured up the drug and may have distributed it, too many syllables, distributed it down to the public. But whoever oversaw that idea, they are responding to the overarching blueprint of consciousness that gave it to him, that put him or her in that position to even do that put him or her in that position to even have this mentality to where they think something like this must be done. In response, how we are collectively throwing rocks at the master, and how we are attacking the police, and how we are taking no for an answer, and all of this wonderful stuff. That's not just us being individually or collectively fed up with how we're being treated. That is the response to consciousness. Everything that happens in front of us, every single millisecond that passes, if it has manifested into reality, it is actually a second part or an offshoot from what happened first in consciousness. The fact that you are alive and breathing is a product of consciousness, not a product of your mother and your father. The fact that I'm holding this telephone and the fact that you can see these trees and these buildings behind us, they are a product of consciousness, not a product of a human creation of the building, not a product of a godly creation of the earth. Of course, yes, as it facilitates down from consciousness into matter, there is this element that gets invented or integrated called time. There is this slowed down vibration that allows what we call or experience time to go to that has the movement of things from the higher realms of consciousness, where they're all together to where they slowly and statically spread apart here in physicality. As we experience in this physicality, we're experiencing something that has already happened in the past in consciousness. So what we're experiencing right now with this great war, with this great turmoil, with this great COVID, with all of these extreme situations that we're dealing with, all of the sorrow, all of the distress, everybody being angry, to be very honest, if you are sad, distressed, angry, to a point to where it's out of your control, to where it's just all in your chest, to where you basically have no control over your emotions, and sadness and despair and things like that have rightfully fallen over you because, again, of the conditions that we are in, you unfortunately have been tricked by the second part of consciousness that does its full-scale operation. So when I do talk about consciousness, I am talking about the whole totality of everything. And in the whole totality of everything, there is some good and there is some bad. If we're going to talk about it vibrationally, there are certain things that help spring up higher vibrations, and there are certain things that shoot down to lower vibrations. And as we, again, understand our human experience, as we are in this 3D realm, we are in a lower vibrational field than what we understand to be heaven, nirvana, the afterlife, all of those types of places. Those types of places have a higher vibratory frequency, and their reality spins and moves so fast that we cannot interpret it, because the vibration that we are currently in and resonating at as a human is beneath them, is beneath it. If we want to kind of tiptoe into that whole alien thing, if aliens were to exist, they would be beings on higher realms that we can't interpret on a regular human body. As it understands in the 3D physical realm, the highest form of any expression in the 3D physical realm is the human body. 5 fingers and toes, arm, leg, arm, head, God body. The whole aspect of consciousness in itself comes into the fruition in 3D through the human. We are the pinnacle of this, but we are the pinnacle of this in a lower reality. And so that's a part of the trick. The energy of consciousness, it doesn't care if you want to go high or you want to go low. Consciousness is simply just going to spin you in the direction that you feel you think you need to go in. And as it understands with consciousness, this consciousness will have you spinning your wheels in a circle, and you will essentially spin yourself into the reincarnation cycle. And you will continue to spin and die and relive and die and relive, die, come back to this, die, go through COVID 2027, die, come back again, go through COVID 2099, die, come back, experience World War IV, die, come back and experience some more heartache and more sorrow. And the reason why this will continue to happen, and I know I may be, and let me back off because I understand I may be saying some things to viewers who don't know these types of concepts, so that might be too big and it might throw you off a little bit. Let's just keep it on a normal basis. On your day-to-day human life, if you do not use your higher spiritual powers to help organize your life and propel it forward, life itself will do that for you, and it will ruin your own life. Essentially, if you don't go and use your mind to plan ahead, if you don't use your pineal gland to vision, if you don't use the spiritual apparatus part of yourself and put it to use so that you can tap into the higher vibrational frequency part of yourself that does exist in these higher realms, if you do not spend enough time in your human body getting more familiar with that aspect of yourself, more familiar with that higher vibration, more familiar with this higher intuition, and yes, more familiar with putting it into action, you will not be raising up your vibratory weight to where whenever it comes time for you to leave off of this earth, you won't have enough focus in memory and practice in your own consciousness to go and ascend yourself to another space, to go and stop being on this cycle of the human body and the human life. You will actually return back to that heaven, that nirvana, that wonderful place that we all know is better than this one for anyone who has any form of spiritual inclination. So again, to bring it all back and to bring it all home, if you have spent the vast majority of your life by channeling your emotions, by channeling your intentions, by channeling your desires, by channeling your angst, your justified angst, and you spend the vast majority of your life using that consciousness energy to just use it on other human stuff, you will only have a set of memories in your consciousness, a set of actions in your consciousness, a set of abilities in your consciousness to where you would have ignored the higher vibratory realm. And because you would have ignored this higher vibratory realm, when you do leave out of this human flesh, you will not know what direction to go in, and you ultimately will choose to come back into the human flesh because that is the only thing that is familiar to you. Now, it's a hard pill to swallow, and it's actually, I don't even say a hard pill to swallow, but it is a more interesting and an unusual one, because taking and being a part of the higher intuition of the higher self, of the interdimensional self, of the yourself on the other side, that part of yourself doesn't care about your humanness. That part of yourself doesn't care that you are living in 3D. That part of yourself actually wants you to get out of that 3D part of yourself. An example of how this is true is if anyone who's ever taken and done any work to try to turn on their intuition, or they've gone, to the altar and talked to Jesus and Jesus gives them some type of direction, all of that stuff, it's all the same stuff. Regardless of what channel you may have tapped into, you know what I'm talking about when it gets turned on and then the intuition kicks in, and then it tells you to go do something that is highly unusual. That aspect of the highly unusual, that is the higher vibratory frequency of yourself trying to get you being used to a higher vibratory rate, a higher vibratory experience. Because if you are entrenched in your humanness, in your fears, and taking care of your body, and the maintenance of the body, and the making sure that everything is in place so that you are as comfortable as possible, that your kids are comfortable as possible, that they have a much better life than you, and all of those wonderful cliche things that we buy into, and then we stress ourselves out over, inclusive of this whole police brutality thing. Again, not saying it's not valid, but think about it. Especially as an African American, the backstory and the backdrop that we have that leads all the way up to here. All of that stress, all of that trauma, all of that evil, all of that distress, all of that broken promises, all of these broken families, for generation upon generation upon generation. All of that negativity and that weight has been thrown on us so much to where now we don't have no choice but to do a human response. They are right when they saying, why are they blowing stuff up? Why are they rioting and blowing their own things up? Da 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 da. Of course, it's a silly critique, but there's legitimacy in it. Not the whole basic legitimacy of, basically people masking their racism behind that. It's the legitimacy of being reactionary in your humanness. Because in our humanness, if you riot, if you go write a check, if you go get a politician to change something, no matter which choice you make, if that choice is made as a direct response to making the human condition better, and is not a direct response to the actual interdimensional self, then you're not doing anything anyway. You're only signing yourself up to come live this life again and to go through these same terrible and tragic processes again. And to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why is the world this way? Why do people have to hurt each other? Because this is what 3D reality is. We are in a reality that you have to kill and consume something in order to live. No matter if you're vegan, plant-based, herbivore, omnivore. Every living thing around here has to absorb the essence and life force out of something else in order for it to be propelled. This is the reality that we live in. The reality itself that we live in is flawed and is askewed, and it is designed to perpetuate lack, hurt, distress. It is designed to promote stress, worry, concern. Because at the end of the day, you always have to go back and give maintenance and protection to this daggone meat suit that you were in. And if you fall into the trap of thinking that you are only a meat suit, you will live a whole life not tapped into your actual divine self. And if you do live that life not tapped into your actual divine self, you will come back here and live out this confusion again and again and again and again. And so I'm giving a nice reminder for everyone to say this in a very frank way. Stop caring. I know, right? Doesn't seem like that's the best answer. Doesn't seem like that's the best solution. What about the police? What about the black people? They're killing all the black babies. They're not killing us all because we reincarnate. We're not flesh bodies. We are astral beings. We're cosmic dust. We get collected in this human form and get trapped in the human form. Death is actually a release out of the human form. So getting mad that they're killing us is actually getting mad that someone gets to have another opportunity to return to heaven. You are actually being an agent to the aspect of consciousness that is keeping all of us trapped into the distress that we no longer want to feel. It is a paradox and it is a trick. And I'm doing this on purpose so that it could have greater reinforcement if you are actually watching this, because this is the Matrix. And if you want out, you gotta stop caring. So I'm gonna close this video with saying, you know what? I love Ahmaud Arbery, but I don't care. I love George Floyd, but I don't care. I love Trayvon Martin. I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is because I know they're not dead. And no, not that conspiracy, they got them in a bunker somewhere. I mean, they might have them there too, but I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is because I know to keep myself in the mindset of remembering consciousness. We are all consciousness. We're all just a bunch of dust. We will return to said dust, and hopefully we will leave out of this dusty experience that we're in. So, have fun protesting, have fun sharing your memes, have fun being upset, have fun repeating that you're tired and that you're defeated and that you're broken. As for me, I'm not going to affirm any of those things because I'm not any of those things. And honestly, neither are you. But hey, I understand the humanness of this game. So in closing, this is a reminder to self to just remember consciousness. and to remember that you are consciousness as well. You ain't a human, homie. Be good, family.